Imagine your very first motorcycle. Not the fastest, not the loudest, but the one that taught you freedom. The one that carried you down dirt paths, cracked sidewalks and endless afternoons, where the world felt wide open and anything was possible. Now imagine that feeling reborn in 2026, before they even knew what riding truly meant. This is the Honda SL70. For many riders, the SL70 wasn't just a motorcycle. It was the beginning, a gateway, a rite of passage back in the early 1970s. Honda created something special, something small in size but massive in impact. The SL70 was designed to be simple, tough, approachable, and endlessly fun. It wasn't built to intimidate. It was built to invite. And that invitation shaped the lives of countless riders who took their first twist of the throttle on its narrow seat, gripping its handlebars with nervous excitement and boundless curiosity. The original SL70 was a dual sport in the purest sense. A small air-cooled four-stroke engine, lightweight frame, upright riding position, knobby tires ready for dirt, gravel, and pavement alike. It could take a beating, survive crashes, and still fire right back up. It didn't care if you were learning clutch control or bouncing through trails behind your friends. The SL70 simply worked. It taught balance, it taught confidence, and most importantly, it taught joy. Honda understood something fundamental when they built the SL70. Motorcycling doesn't begin with horsepower. It begins with trust. Trust between rider and machine. And that trust made the SL70 legendary. Parents trusted it, kids loved it. Riders grew up on it, and decades later, its memory still lives on in garages, barns, and stories told with a smile and a distant look in the eyes. Fast forward to 2026, and Honda has done something remarkable. They've brought the SL70 back not as a toy, not as a novelty, but as a fully realized, modern machine that honors its roots, while embracing today's technology. The 2026 Honda SL70 is a love letter to simplicity. In an era of excess, it's a reminder that motorcycles don't need to be complicated to be meaningful at first glance. The new SL70 instantly feels familiar. The silhouette is unmistakable. Slim bodywork, flat seat, high-mounted fenders, upright bars that encourage confidence instead of aggression. It looks friendly, honest, purposeful. There's no unnecessary bulk, no intimidating stance. It feels approachable in the same way the original did. But with subtle modern refinement, LED lighting replaces the old incandescent glow. But it's warm and understated. The fuel tank keeps its classic shape, sculpted just enough for modern ergonomics without losing its identity. Underneath that timeless design lies a modern heart. The 2026 SL70 is powered by a fuel-injected, air-cooled four-stroke single. Tuned for reliability, smoothness, and low-end torque. It's not about top speed, it's about control. Throttle response is gentle and predictable. Power builds smoothly, making it perfect for new riders, while still being engaging enough for experienced ones. Honda didn't chase numbers here. They chase feel. The transmission is crisp and forgiving. The clutch is light. The gearing is designed to work everywhere. Pavement, on dirt, on trails, and through neighborhoods where learning happens one gear at a time. This is a motorcycle that meets you where you are. It doesn't rush you. It encourages you to grow. Modern suspension transforms the ride without compromising simplicity. Longer travel allows the SL70 to soak up bumps, roots, and potholes with ease. The bike remains light and flickable, responding instantly to rider input. Whether you're carving through a dirt trail or cruising along a quiet road, the SL70 feels composed, balanced, and forgiving. It doesn't punish mistakes. It teaches through experience. Riding the 2026 SL70 feels like rediscovering a forgotten joy. The moment you sit on it, your posture relaxes. The bike feels unintimidating, almost welcoming when the engine comes to life. There's no roar, just a calm, reassuring thump that tells you everything is ready. Twist the throttle, and the SL70 moves forward with eager enthusiasm. Not explosive, not aggressive, just honest motion as you ride. Something remarkable happens. The noise of the world fades. The pressure disappears. You're no longer chasing speed or performance. You're just riding, feeling the surface beneath your tires, learning the rhythm of throttle and brake, leaning gently into corners, standing up on the pegs as the trail opens up ahead. It feels pure, almost therapeutic. This is where the SL70 shines. It reconnects riders with the fundamentals balance. Control awareness, it reminds experienced riders why they fell in love with motorcycles in the first place. And for new riders, it offers something invaluable: confidence. Confidence to explore, confidence to learn, confidence to fall, get back up, and ride again. Honda didn't just build the 2026 SL70 for beginners. They built it for everyone who remembers being one. It's a second bike for seasoned riders, a teaching tool for parents, a weekend escape machine, for anyone who wants to slow down and enjoy the ride. Instead of racing through it, it fits into lives effortlessly. Just like the original did decades ago, the reaction from the riding community has been overwhelmingly emotional. Older riders see the SL70 and are instantly transported back to childhood. Stories flood in about first rides, scraped knees, dusty helmets, and long summer evenings that seemed endless. Younger riders see something different but equally powerful. A motorcycle that isn't intimidating, that doesn't demand perfection, and that feels human. In a world of increasingly digital machines, online discussions buzz with excitement. People aren't talking about top speed or lap times. They're talking about memories, about teaching their kids to ride, about rediscovering trails they haven't visited in years, about motorcycles as experiences, not status symbols. The SL70 has reignited a conversation about what motorcycling is really about. The legacy of the SL70 has always been about accessibility. It was a bike that didn't exclude, welcomed, and the 2026 version carries the same philosophy forward. It lowers the barrier to entry without lowering the quality. Honda's legendary reliability ensures that this bike can be passed down, ridden hard, maintained easily, and trusted completely. It's built to last, not just mechanically but emotionally. Riding the SL70 doesn't feel like chasing adrenaline. It feels like reclaiming freedom, like taking the long way home, like exploring paths you'd normally ignore. It's the kind of motorcycle that makes you curious again. Curious about what's around the corner. Curious about what's down that dirt road. Curious about how much joy can exist at lower speeds. Every ride becomes an experience rather than a performance. You notice the sound of gravel beneath your tires, the way sunlight filters through trees, the subtle feedback through the handlebars. The SL70 encourages presence, rewards attention, and in doing so, it becomes more than transportation. It becomes a companion. In a world where motorcycles are often defined by complexity, power, and technology, the 2026 Honda SL70 stands apart. By embracing simplicity, it proves that progress doesn't always mean adding more. Sometimes it means remembering what mattered in the first place. The SL70 is honest. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. And that honesty is exactly why it resonates so deeply. This motorcycle represents a philosophy that Honda has always understood. Motorcycles should make life better, not more complicated. They should inspire confidence, not fear. They should create memories, not just statistics. The SL70 does all of that effortlessly. For those who rode the original, the 2026 SL70 feels like meeting an old friend, familiar, comforting, and still full of surprises. For new riders, it feels like the beginning of a journey that could last a lifetime. It's a motorcycle that doesn't demand skill. It builds it. It doesn't chase attention, it earns affection. The return of the SL70 is not about nostalgia alone. It's about continuity. About passing something meaningful from one generation to the next. About preserving the spirit of learning, exploration, and joy that motorcycling was built on. Honda hasn't just revived a model. They've revived a feeling. The 2026 Honda SL70 reminds us that the most important rides aren't always the fastest or the longest. They're the ones that stay with us, the ones that shape who we become, the ones that teach us confidence, independence, and respect for the machine beneath us. This is not just a motorcycle. It's a beginning, a reminder, a bridge between generations. The SL70 returns not to dominate the market, but to win hearts all over again. And for anyone who has ever dreamed of riding or remembers the thrill of their first ride, this little machine carries a big promise. The promise that freedom doesn't need to be loud, that joy doesn't need to be complicated, and that sometimes the smallest motorcycles leave the biggest impact. The Honda SL70 is back, and the journey begins all over again.